Welcome to the WealthGenius podcast, brought to you by the Expand Wealth Real Estate Fund. Expand your wealth by investing in apartment buildings. Go to expandwealthfund.com to book your info session. The WealthGenius podcast, strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The WealthGenius podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The WealthGenius podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
And I'm in awe right now because you're a professional podcast guest.
Yes.
And I'm gonna take some notes. I'm gonna take some notes on the side to see how you do things. No, but we met. Actually, don't know how we met. I think
through Majid.
Through Majid. Yes. And then we connected. I was on your podcast.
You were.
So I want to see what your evaluation of my guesting is. But it's we started talking. It's a pretty neat concept that you have.
Yep.
You teach people how to become professional guests.
Yes.
On podcasts, and to me that's unique. Really, nobody does that. People, we've had people on here talking about how to create your own podcast. Yep. But how to become a professional guest, and how do you get the most out of being a guest on the show? But that's what you're doing now.
Yep, that's one of the things I do, absolutely.
One of the things you're doing now. How did you get here?
Fantastic question. So, during the scamdemic and the lockdowns, right, I had a business that was very event-focused, event-based. We worked with top-level thought leaders, and, in-person events weren't a thing during that period, right?
Yeah.
Our business just went down. Now, we managed to save some of it through online, but there was a whole piece of it that just wasn't coming back. So about $500,000 of expected business was gone. And I was kind of like freaking out a little bit, That's a technical business term, freaking out, right? Yeah. And so I called my good friend and business coach. His name's Mark Von Muser. Mark used to be Tony Robbins' director of coaching, sales, and training. Nice. But just to let you know about Mark is a U.S. Navy veteran. He's a Christian. He tried out for the U.S. Navy SEALs. He was a top realtor in San Diego County for over a decade. And he helped Tony Robbins add $150 million to his sales. So he's no joke. He's a serious dude. And I go, Mark, I said, man, I'm freaking out here, bro. What can we do? Like, I need to find a way to turn this around. And he said, let me think. And that's how he does it, right? He just goes, let me think. And then he goes, I got it. I said, okay, tell me. He said, why don't you go be a guest on other people's podcasts as a means of getting leads, sales, and clients? And I'm sitting here going, man, I'm ready to try anything. Sure, absolutely, let's do it. So how do we do that? And Alfonso, he gave me the greatest answer any coach has ever given anybody anywhere. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
He said, and I quote, I have no idea, but we'll figure it out together. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So I start going on shows. I go on 1 show, 2 shows, 3 shows, 5, 10, 15, 20, no leads, no sales, no clients. But you know what I did? After every show, Mark and I would have an after-action meeting. We debrief. We look at what I did well and what I didn't do well. This went all the way to the first 100 guest appearances. No leads, no sales, no clients. Mm-hmm. But by the time we hit 100, brother, we'd done the reps. You know what I'm talking about? We'd been in the trenches long enough that something clicked. And on show 101, I got my first lead, my first sale, my first client. And then oh my God, I've cracked the code. All I need to do now is figure out how to get on the right shows with the right audience and the right host. Boom. And so part-time, because I do other things. I speak on stages like yourself. I write books. I run events, blah, 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 blah. I made just under $500,000 in sales, 3 to 5 hours a week. And I've been on almost 700 podcasts in less than 2.5 years.
700.
700.
Woo! Well, you know what? We were having this conversation earlier with the team. It's like, how many podcasts exist right now?
5.8 million.
5.8 million podcasts. And
They're all looking for guests.
They're all looking for guests.
Every one of them.
like even for us, I mean, we're like, okay, let's set up the day. We're gonna have all our guests. We're downtown Toronto, so someone may have to. They look at the traffic where they are. Maybe can't make it, whatever. And also we need to make sure that we continue to offer value to the audience.
Absolutely.
So all these are all these things that we have to consider when we're booking a guest for our show. Do they bring value? Are they available? Right? Are these people? Are they available? Are they going to come in? Are they going to come on our show and just sell? Like all those things we need to consider. And it's not easy finding guests. It's not easy picking the right guests for your show. Now, I almost have the similar story where we're in the pandemic, going from stages to nothing. And then, I started doing the rounds, nothing to do, really. So I started getting on people's shows. And, some of those shows still are providing leads for me today, right?
I love it.
Because ultimately it's like, that evergreen type of content where it's like, for example, seller financing. I was on a show and they wanted to know about seller financing, and I talked about seller financing, and it's a show that still exists right now that always gets views because people are looking for seller financing, and then boom, that show comes up, and then somehow someone watches that show, and then they'll figure out how to find me, right? Yep. So what's the process to be on a show? Like there's so many shows. Do you go on 700 shows or
no? No, look, so I wrote a book, and I'm sorry I didn't bring a copy with me, but I'll make sure I bring one for you when we see each other this weekend. And I teach a workshop on exactly how to do it because, going on 700 shows, we've got it down to a science right now, right? And the name of the book and the workshop is Get Booked and Get Paid, right? How to generate 6 figures plus a year through podcast guesting. Yeah. And this is the first thing you got to understand. It starts with the correct intention. You need a strong intention, not a weak intention. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like a strong intention for podcast guesting is I'm going on a show to get leads, to get sales, to get clients. A weak intention is I'm just going on to have a great conversation. You see the difference? Yeah. When the intention is correct, God lines up the universe.
And it's not like you can't have fun and have a good conversation.
You have to. We're having fun right now, right? This is good times. But my primary intention is I'm coming on a show to generate leads, sales, and clients. Now, how do you do that? You got to have a triple threat intention, I call it. So number one is you got to come in and bring it for the audience. Like the audience are fellow brothers and sisters, they're human beings. The reason they're listening to a podcast is they're looking to better themselves. Maybe they've had a hard day. Maybe they've had a hard life. They're coming on a show because they're looking for some inspiration. They're looking for some hope. So my job and your job as a guest, number one, you got to have your eye on the audience and go, I'm going to give them value. I'm going to give them belief. I'm going to give them hope. My father, God rest his soul, he used to tell me, son, everybody needs someone to believe in them. Everyone needs someone to see their greatness, someone to say, hey, Alfonso, I see you. I know you. You're awesome. I believe in you. You can do things you can't even imagine. That's your job when you meet a fellow human being, to give them that. So on the show, I pour my love, I pour my heart, I pour my belief, and I say to everyone listening here, you have what it takes. The fact that you're listening to Alfonso and I right now means you're a seeker, means you are a winner, means you are destined for greatness by God Almighty himself. And it is my job to help you see that. That little spark, Alfonso, can turn into a roaring fire of belief. You know what I'm talking about? That's our job, number one, in that triple threat intention, number one. Number two, Alfonso, you're the host, right? You're spending time being here. You took time out of your day, coming here from Ottawa, set all this up here. You're spending money, hiring a team to put this together, to record all this. You're putting your energy into this. You're taking a chance. You bring someone on the show and they do a bad job, that wrecks your brand. So my job, man, I'm bringing it for you. I want to make you look good. I want you to say, when I leave, I want you to go to Sam, I want you to go to your producer. I want you to go, man, that cat, Nicky, man, wasn't he awesome?
We got to have him again.
Right? That's what and I want both of them to go, yep, bring that guy back. That's my job, because I make you look good. Then I earn the right for the third intention, which is to build a powerful business relationship with you, the host. Every host is a business person. Every host is there because they're looking to grow. They're seeking. They want to do more and get better. How do we do business, Alfonso? You and I have talked about this before when we spoke on the phone. We do business with people we get to know, we get to like, we get to trust. And if I do intention 1 and I do intention 2, you get to know me, you get to like me, you get to trust me. This is where the possibility of us doing business comes alive. I might become your client. You might become my client. We may collaborate together like we're doing to offer things to the marketplace. I may send you referrals. You might send me referrals. Brother, if you go on 2 shows a week for 20 to 30 minutes each, that's an hour of your time. That's 100 shows a year, Alfonso. That's 100 new business owner contacts and connections added to your network in an intimate, close, personal way. Alfonso, I'm just going to ask you a really stupid question. Would you like to get 100 new business connections a year with no ad spend?
Yes,
Would
sir.
that be okay? Like all day long, like twice on Sundays, right?
We spend money to get those connections.
Well, there you go. So if you could do it for free or near free, that's even better.
Yeah.
So the beauty of podcast guesting in 2024, 2025 is today you don't need to hire an agency. You don't need to spend ads on Facebook saying I'm looking for shows to go on. There's these AI-driven platforms, brother. You go on these platforms for less than $50 US a month. They'll give you up to 720 shows a month selected by algorithm based on a profile set that you've created for you to pitch to go on. Alfonso, in 2.5 years, I haven't been on 720 shows yet, okay? Like 720 shows a month. Are you kidding me? That's near free. Now, I'll let you know a little secret. Some of these platforms have affiliate programs, and I've taken advantage of them. So I introduce people like my friends to you. They go on. I get like a small piece. Right now, I've introduced so many people, it's free for me. Yeah. So I might actually be making $10 a month to go on other people's podcasts just from the program. That's how incredible it is. You use these platforms. There are literally, on one platform, there's over 12,000 podcasts. There's another platform that has 78,000 podcasts. And there's another one that has over 50,000
Well, you said
podcasts.
there's 1.8 million.
5.8 million around the world.
5.8 million podcasts.
Around the world. So if you just had access through AI to about 100,000, are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's
all you need, right?
Yeah.
That's like if all you did is said, I'd like to go on 100 shows a year and make 100 new business connections. No bigger intention than that even. Just to make the connections, business will come out of that. But now if you had the intention that we talked about earlier, then when you lead sales and clients, brother, I'm telling you, for an Alfonso Cuadra, the way I teach doing podcast guesting, I think we can help a man like you get 7 figures for 1 to 2 hours a week next year through podcast guesting. I believe that in my heart with all my soul.
I love it. And so how does one approach... What's that approach look like to a potential podcaster? I know they're looking for content, but they're not going to just bring on anybody to a show. Is there like a process that or a way of preparing myself? I know for speaking, you got your speaker one sheet.
Yep.
You got there's certain tools that you're going to need, to be able to, become attractive to the conference administrator and the people that are making decisions, the decision makers. So how does that process work for you?
So these AI platforms make it super easy. You create a profile, which is like your one sheet. You post up a video there. You post up some pictures. You write up your profile of who you are, what your bio is, what your background is. You write up topics that you want to talk to. And I teach this in my workshop, by the way, all of this. You come up with past shows you've been on, so you post a few of them, your social media handles. So it's all housed on this AI Black platform. You put some keywords. So let's say one of yours is real estate investing, right? We just put that in there. Boom. The AI algorithm will look at real estate investing, and it'll pick all the shows that have anything to do with real estate investing. And every 6 hours, you'll get 6 shows to pitch to. And what you do, once you get on there, and I teach this again in the workshop, and it's also in the book, you say something along the lines of, hey, Podmatch thinks we're a good fit. Right? Podmatch is one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Podmatch thinks we're a good fit. Do you agree? Right? And then you say, my name's Alfonso Cuadra. They call me the godfather of real estate. This is my backstory. You tell it really quickly, where you were born and how you came to be here. Just say, I've been a guest on this many podcasts. I'd be able to come on your show and talk about seller financing, talk about this. I also talk about an inspiring story of how anybody can make it. So this is truly a rags to riches story. Would you like to have me on? So I'd help you create this. So it'd be my pleasure to do this. I'd help you create this.
Well, I was on your show.
So you're going to come, listen, you're going to come to one of my workshops as my guest. That's happening, okay? So you're going to be there, and I'm going to walk you through. We're going to do this for you. You're going to set you up and whatnot. It's going to be done. But, buddy, every 6 hours, they send you 6 matches, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
That's beautiful.
And then if you run out of shows,
clear my schedule.
Yeah, right?
I'm going to be on a 700 show.
Right, but if you do 2 a week, bro, all you do is, like, let's say Sam, I work with Sam, we set this up for you, right? And you go, we say, Sam, pick the top 2 a week for him to go on. And then we put you on there. Boom, done. I
like it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. People don't understand this, Alfonso. They go, oh my God, well, it's the audience. The audience is important, but more important than the audience is the host. Mm-hmm. The host is the business person. The host is your potential connection. The host is where the opportunities
Collaboration.
are. Business, deals, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. It took me 100 shows to figure that out. The first 100 shows, I didn't know.
Yeah, you were showing up and you're just telling your story and, trying not to sell or, trying to be polite or,
Whole bit.
Yeah.
Whole bit. But once I realized the host, my talk was designed to make the host go, man, this guy's great. And to make the host go, I'd like to talk to him further. Like in their own mind. And then obviously there's a way for me to ask that question in that way. Boom. And obviously the audience people are going to reach out to you. As you know, that happens anyways. But you get 100 of the right shows that you go on. You make 100 connections. Alfonso, you know how this works.
Yeah,
you're going to get business.
I'm getting goosebumps. I'll tell you why. I feel the same way. So I went from traditional business where you had to put ads in the newspaper, ads in the news on radio. Like we used to spend. We're talking about like for one of my businesses where we're spending like $30,000-$40,000 a month just on radio ads.
Wow.
Right. And then this little thing came along, was called social media, right? And I'm going way back, right? And the first one was MySpace.
Yeah, I remember it.
And you could create a web. To me, what was interesting is you can create a landing page where you have all your stuff, and people would go to it. And the biggest thing for me was like, whoa, you don't have to hire a developer, right? And then Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, like all of that has made it possible for me to be where I'm at, right? The fact that you have an audience, a broadcasting studio from your pocket, to me, that blew my mind. The fact that I can have a YouTube channel where people can plug in and subscribe to my channel and be a part of it. The fact that I can put together, I was on television as well. For years, I mean, the people, the sound engineer, the all of the things that have to go through to create this interview, it's crazy. And now with like almost 6 million podcasts in the world, where people are, and that number is probably growing, right?
It'll be over.
We had someone on the show here
next week, yeah.
We had someone on the show here that helps people create podcasts,
Amazing.
And people are getting into the business of helping other people find their voice, right?
Yep.
And no one's ever thought about the guests. Nobody. And from that perspective of, how can you be this is not free. This is I'm gonna have to make an investment here, right?
Yeah.
Just the same way I was making an investment in radio, but to be a guest on someone's show and do the runs on everybody's show, it's to me, it gives me goosebumps because it's like anybody can do this.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. So I'll tell you a story
I'll
of a
tell
guy.
you this, without getting political, I think that's why Trump won.
Buddy, this talk I did this morning, that was the whole thing I said.
Yeah.
Why Trump won, why Kamala lost. I said she was on traditional media talking to people who already supported her. He went on podcasts with people who either didn't support him or are apolitical.
Yeah.
He got new customers, voters,
Yeah.
and she got nothing.
Yeah.
I did an hour talk on this morning,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
I've done a podcast episode on this. Like, I am all in on this.
I believe it. I mean, the fact that she was. I mean, again, I'm not getting political here.
Not political, no.
I'm not saying
this
that.
is reality.
Yeah,
reality.
Yeah. She said no to Joe Rogan.
Which was insane.
To me,
Who says no to Joe Rogan?
exactly. That's like, for Trump, he got like 60 million views. Just that
On YouTube.
on YouTube. Yeah,
Over
All
100 million
yeah,
elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then X Spaces with Elon Musk. Like,
Yeah.
I have the stats in my talk. I could do a talk for you. We could do a webinar for you people just on this separately if you want.
I love
I'm
it.
happy to do
Yeah.
I have it already created, and I've delivered it a dozen times. Plus, I have a podcast, and I'll send it to you. But listen, X Spaces had over 200 million views when Elon Musk interviewed Trump. 200 million.
Yeah.
All the shows she went on CNN, MSNBC, under 5 million views total.
Yeah.
The smallest podcast Trump went on was more than 5 million views.
Yeah.
The smallest.
Yeah, and he went to
everywhere.
podcasts like that are geared towards young streamers, like
Aiden Ross.
Yeah.
Nelk Boys.
Yes.
Theo Vaughn.
Yeah.
Buddy, those guys, there were interviews that were being done after people voted, right? They call them exit interviews. And the people who, were voting for Kamala, they asked, so why'd you vote for Kamala? He says, well, I knew I was going to vote for her like a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, right? All right. The people who were voting for Trump, mostly young guys, they said, why'd you vote for him? Because I saw him on Rogan, I saw him on Nelk Boys, I saw him here.
Yeah.
It's estimated that Donald Trump, from going on podcasts, got an extra 4 million votes that he wouldn't otherwise get. So if you look at the raw vote totals, he won 77 million votes. She won 74 million votes.
Yeah.
Minus those 4 million, she would have won. It would have been 74 million for her, 73 million for him.
Incredible.
Buddy.
If that doesn't tell you why you should be a guest, I mean, to me, I'm inspired now.
Buddy,
I'm on the road. I'm on the road. I could just be, behind the screen, just doing podcasts.
Buddy, we're gonna get you going on this. But I'm telling you what, when I do my talk for your group, when I'm talking, I know Majid's gonna be there. I want you to come on stage, and I want you and I for a minute to talk about Trump. Yeah. Tell everybody, because you say it so beautifully.
Yeah.
And I also want to tell you a story of a guy. Now, this guy is an accountant to real estate investors. He's one of my clients, actually. Okay. He's a good guy. I should introduce him to you. You really like him. But he's an introvert. Okay. He's a total introvert. He's not got Alfonso Godfather energy, not Nicky Billou energy, not Majid energy. Introvert. His name's Michael, right? So he did my course, and he took good notes, and then he signed up for another course of mine. He took notes, but I never said a word. So 3 months later, I go, this guy's my client. I know nothing about him except that he's an accountant, and he's quiet. So I asked to have a call with him. Because I'm like, I hope this guy got value, man. Because I like people to get value. You know what I mean? When they don't get value, I get upset. So I call him. I said, Michael, thanks for taking the time. So, buddy, did you get value? He goes, oh, yeah, I loved it. I said, tell me. He said, well, I did what you said on the podcast. I went on the show, and I did exactly what you said, how to do it, my story, their stories, blah, blah, blah. And he said, at the end of the show, the host said to me, I think all my clients should talk to you. Do you mind if I give you some referrals? Alfonso, do you mind if I give you some referrals? Is that okay if I give you some referrals?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Dude, he got 15 referrals in the next 90 days. He made thousands and thousands of dollars from going on one show. Introvert, not a loud guy. Not at all a loud guy. And then I go, so you've kept working with us, Like, he goes, yeah. We have this program for, like, people to sell, accountability on selling, how to have a good sales conversation, overcome objections, all of that. 12 weeks, hardcore accountability. We call it 90K in 90 days. How to make an extra $90,000 in 90 days. So a lot of people who do the podcast guesting program, man, they don't know how to sell. So we tell them, you should consider doing this, right? So he said, I love it. He said the most money I'd ever made before was in a quarter was $30,000. I said, okay. He said, this quarter, I didn't make $90,000. I made $89,600, but that's the most I've ever made. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my God. And he said, everything you taught me about podcasting, I learned and I brought it into sales. He said, I think you're great. I said, okay, thank God. I felt good because he said nothing, right? And then, Alfonso, there's another guy, he's a client of mine, he's from Belgium. English is not his first language. So it's not my first language and it's not your first language. I know that too. But it's not even his second language. It's not even his third language. It's his fourth language. He's Belgian. He speaks Dutch first, speaks French second, and then German, and then English. His accent is noticeable. You know what I'm saying? He's a great guy. I love him. But he's got an accent. So there's people here that are listening. They're going, well, you know, maybe I'm not very articulate or English isn't my first language. So this guy, his name is Mathieu, right? Mathieu went on the show. His first show, he made a 3,000 euro sale. First show.
Wow.
First show. Within 90 days, 84 days to be precise, he made 124,000 euro. English isn't his first language. So if you're listening to the show and you're thinking, I don't know, you're coming up with every excuse in the book, I'm just going to bat him out of the park, man. You know, I'm an introvert, boom, Michael. I don't speak English well, boom, Mathieu. You know, and what if you're not a salesperson? I have a client, her name's Dr. Dia. Okay, we helped her get her messaging right. She is not a salesperson. She's a doctor. They look down on sales. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
She made $1,050,000 within the 90-day period from just getting her message right. This stuff works, buddy. And you go on shows today, nobody's doing it the way I teach it. Everybody goes on shows and they make no money. They got verbal diarrhea. They'll say anything and then they'll leave and they'll go, oh, that was great. And they got no leads, no sales, no clients. That's not what you want. You want to tell your own story in a compelling way. You want to have a few stories, other stories, because, you know, facts tell, stories sell. And you want to be real and you want to be authentic and you want to follow my playbook, which is designed just the way a TED Talk is designed a certain way. Our podcast guest appearances are designed that way as well.
How many people have you worked with?
A few dozen.
Yeah.
I want to make it a few hundred.
Yeah.
That's why I met you. I want to work with Alfonso because I know that once you believe in this, we can take this to hundreds, thousands.
The reason I ask you that because you know, I was on your show. Yeah. How did I do?
So your story was amazing. I'm going to tell you what you did well. I'm going to tell you what we need to improve.
That's what I want to know.
Your story was amazing, and the way you tied it into why you do what you do, rock star. We need a bit more time on that just to get people really engaged because people want to know you. That's the most important thing. They want to know, why should I listen to this dude, Alfonso? And then the stories of your clients, and you told a few of those, we want to deliberately pick about half a dozen, and we're going to tell this and this type of scenario, this and this type of scenario. Those things, I think we can do better. Okay? Your call to action was good as well. We're going to make your call to action amazing.
So if you're listening to this, I want you to go back to, where can they find the episode?
At the Thought Leader Revolution podcast. You can go to thethoughtleaderrevolution.com or go to iTunes, Spotify, wherever. Yeah.
Okay. So check out my episode, and because now I want to get better at this. You know, now that I'm more conscious of what's, you know, that this is a driving, like a business driver. I want to get better at it, and I want to work with you.
Brother, you're going to be my guest. We're going to have you there. Awesome. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And let's bring this to as many people as possible.
How did you get into this? Like, how did you get into this business, personal development, and getting on stages and whatever?
Sure. So, you know my backstory. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. Like our mutual friend Majid, I'm from Iran, right? And when I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution happened, right? And my mom and dad are like freaking out. They're going, "This is not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So we gotta get out of here. We gotta go." And so mom and dad made a plan, and they got us out of Iran and brought us to Canada. It took a few years. It wasn't instant, right?
Like a good friend, PBD.
yeah, very similar. So we came to Canada, and my father, he was Alfonso. A man, in a lot of ways, very much like yourself, a man with a big heart. If you knew him, man, and you were trying to find work, he would sit you in his office. He would call all his friends in business until one of them hired you. Like, no joke. He would, like, He would negotiate and get you a job. If you're trying to start a business and you said, Mr. Billou, I need help, he'd sit you down and he'd listen. He'd had an MBA from a Western university, so he'd come, he'd give you advice. He'd put you in touch with people who had funding. He'd put you in touch with clients. If you were his friend and you were trying to buy a car or a house, you know, in a country like Iran, it's a second world country, right? Not a first world country. If you didn't have access to money and the bank wouldn't give you quite what you needed, he would loan you. And then if you tried to pay him back a year or two later, he'd say, get out of here, man. Now, get out of here. What are you doing? No, don't insult me. Come on, that's a gift. But that's what he was like. I worshiped the ground my dad walked on. My dad wanted to help everybody. And he'd always tell me, son, that man sitting across from you, that's someone's father, that's someone's brother, that's someone's son. That's a hero to someone. You know what I mean? Maybe someone just like you let him down in life or in business. Your job is to restore their faith in humanity. And all the time, man, you know, since my father passed away, all I think about is how do I fulfill his legacy? How do I help more people? And I got into the business of entrepreneurial kind of training, coaching, because I think besides the people in the military, you know, who fight for our freedoms and die for our freedoms, entrepreneurs are the greatest people in our society. They have the courage to go after their vision and their dreams. They create all the jobs. They create all the innovation that makes good things happen. They create all of the sense of hope that other people have. You and me, we look at entrepreneurs that we've admired, and that's what drives us to move forward. And government is not their friend. Government is actually their enemy in this day and age. I am their friend. Everyone needs someone to believe in them, someone in the moments where their self-belief wobbles to look at them and say, I see your greatness, man. Because that little one spark will turn into a roaring fire and make their lives come alive. This is why I do what I do, brother. I am my father's son, and I'm a professional believer in people. You call me a professional podcast guest teacher, and I appreciate that. But what I really am is I'm a professional believer in people.
Love it. We'll leave it there because I think that's a beautiful way to end this podcast. Thank you for coming by. And for you guys over there, get on a podcast. Maybe get on this podcast. I don't know. Reach out. Alfonso loves you, and we'll see you all at the top. Woo! We made that announcement. Someone must have caught it. Someone must have been listening. Where's the next expand? 1, 2, 3, yeah!
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius podcast, presented in part by Expand Investor Conference, this May 16th to 18th in Edmonton, Alberta. Get your tickets now at wealthgenius.ai/expand, and we'll see you at the top.